Hello, everyone, and welcome to Astrology in the News for March 2nd, 2018. Man, did you feel that full moon yesterday? That was in Vedic Leo, okay? Of course, it was in Virgo and Western astrology, but I personally use the sidereal zodiac because, or sidereal if you're very fancy, because I find it to be more accurate. Just so everybody knows, if you don't know the difference between Vedic astrology and Western astrology, the primary difference is the zodiac is 25 degrees back in Vedic astrology. That's because they tagged the zodiac to where the precession of the equinoxes was about 2,500 years ago. And so the signs, the stars actually change signs. So in the tropical zodiac, the Gemini twins are in the sign of Cancer now. So really, this is why I love the Vedic zodiac. So if you see me talking about stuff and planets are in different signs and different houses, well, not different houses, but different signs, that is the major difference, okay? Try it one time. Take a look at your planets in the Vedic zodiac. It'll give you a whole new perspective on your chart than what you didn't know before. But hey, yogic wisdom for the day. Brought to you by Amma, the Hugging Saint. And if you haven't seen Amma, she's a wonderful person, does so much work for charity. Don't be discouraged by your incapacity to dispel the darkness from the world. Light your little candle and step forward. Unless you live here and you're driving through rural Arizona. In that case, you're going to need some floodlights, man. It's dark. The candle ain't going to cover it. Did you hear that Jay-Z is now the richest hip hop mogul ever? He surpassed Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, whatever you want to call him, and he is rolling it. I mean, shit, dude. He's now counting 99 problems, but one of them isn't a pile of cash. What the fuck? Sitting on a pile of burning cash? Who makes this crap, dude? Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to have a talk with my creative team. Yeah, because he's so rich he's got money to burn. Okay, yeah, all right. So here's his chart. Jay-Z was born with one of his planets conjunct the ascendant, okay? And it's not actually a physical planet, but this is very important in anybody's chart. Anybody that has a planet can directly, well, this is directly, it's 2 degrees from his ascendant, so it might as well be on it. It has a gigantic impact on somebody's life, especially if it's the north node or the south node. What the south node does when it's conjunct the ascendant is it's always making somebody work on self-improvement. They're always setting the bar higher because whatever they do is never good enough for them because the south node of the moon is like a big gaping hole in your head, in your heart, in your soul, and you keep trying to fill it. And in this case, with Jay-Z, this being in the sign of Leo, he's always filling it with want of attention, with leadership, and that's really the reason for his success. I mean, if you look at another person with a very popular chart, popular person with a successful chart, Tom Brady has a North Node conjunct his ascendant here in the sign of Virgo. So that really has a lot to do with him as a person. Going through his chart, let's see, Jupiter in the third house. So he's going through a Jupiter return right now. Actually, he just went through a Jupiter return. This is actually pretty good for his writing. I don't know if he's put out any albums recently. Obviously, he's the richest person in the world, but this is in the second house. This is very interesting. All these planets in the sign of Scorpio. This man likes himself some women, and women are attracted to him. He's also kind of got like how do I put it? People that have all these planets in the sign of Scorpio really love conspiracies. They love mysteries. They love getting to the bottom of things. But Venus in Scorpio, man, it really he likes freaky women. At least when he was growing up, or at least working his way through life. Let's see. Mars is okay. So this is good. Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn, and so that makes somebody have a very good command of, especially here in the sixth house of finances and debt. This guy knows how to spend his money. Now check this out. Saturn is debilitated in the sign of Aries. However, it's retrograde. And when Saturn is retrograde, it creates what's called a niche banga, which means the cancellation of debilitation. So how a retrograde Saturn works is somebody is so it forces somebody to work very, very, very hard for what they have. I mean, Jay-Z has to put in a lot of effort because normally a retrograde Saturn in Aries makes a person very lazy and it makes it very difficult to, it makes it very difficult for them to get anything done. But when it's retrograde, this gets turned inside, so he always feels lazy. And if you tie this in with a K2 on that first, the cusp of the ascendant, it really adds a lot of that stuff too. So really fascinating chart. Doesn't have any major fixed stars except the Neb Al Gadi is excuse me, it's a chart that's a star that's related to, like you see, it may make a lawyer or let's see, counselor. It can also, with integrity and justice, like kind of the subject of his music. I know Jay-Z's involved with a lot of philanthropy. So moving on, Prince Harry to invite the public to his wedding. Oh, this is great! All of us get to go and be part of the royal wedding, and so they are reinstituting the peanut gallery, so we can go in there and throw nuts at the royals. If you don't know what the peanut gallery was, actually back in the time of Shakespeare, they used to hand out peanuts to the people out in the front row, and that's where all the poor people would sit, and they couldn't actually afford a nice seat up in the balcony. So what they would do is they would give them peanuts, and of course, when they were like getting agitated or insulted, they would start throwing their peanuts at the crowd, and that's not the crowd, the actors. That's where the peanut gallery came from. So just so you know, fact of the day, Prince Harry's chart. Check this out. Okay, looking at his chart, one of the things that sticks out is Uranus is conjunct Antares. This is very interesting because Antares is the star of war and battle. And really, I mean, when people have like Mars conjunct Antares, usually makes them in the middle. Actually, he was in the military. Yeah, I believe Prince Harry was in the military. So I think he's going to hold some sort of honorific position in the military. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Harry was in the military. One of the two were, or both of them were. So yeah, there's his military service right there. Mars in the sign of Scorpio. He likes him some loving. What can I say in the 12th house? That's another interesting thing is that in the sign of the 12th house, it makes it the relationship with the father difficult and actually relating to other men very difficult. Other things he's got going on, Jupiter's in the first house, so very philanthropic. I know he's involved in a lot of philanthropy and there's a lot of social justice. He's basically an SJW to the core. Let's see, what else does he have? Venus is debilitated in the sign of Virgo, which is interesting because that can make when that comes to love, it makes somebody very unromantic and analytical. They're very particular about their love, very choosy. So this is interesting with Mars and Scorpio too. So we got somebody that really wants a sexual relationship, but doesn't really particularly care for love marriages. Okay, so we'll see if this lasts. I'm sure he's into her, and but whatever. Let's see now. We can't forget Meghan Markle, the actress who, while on the throne, will be fighting interdimensional zombies instead of interdimensional. Oh man, I got to talk to my creative team on this one. But she was in the movie, or sorry, what was that? In Fringe, and of course she fought against people from another dimension. And in England, that is the French. Look at those weirdos and their hats and their bread and their wine and their cheese. You gotta guard the channel because you never know what's gonna come out of that thing. Maybe a sandworm or something. Maybe you saw Beetlejuice, which I have. So anyway, going on to her chart, we do have a birth time. Now she has a very fascinating chart because her ascendant is exactly conjunct the fixed star Pollux. Pollux is about fighting, and sometimes it's about physical fighting. Now, in her case, I don't necessarily get that vibe from her, but I wouldn't be surprised if. And she also has Mars in the first house. This lady loves to do battle. She may not talk about it, but I think if you get her into a room and you start like poking and prodding, she will hit you. Okay, so let's keep an eye on Megan and see if she gets into any fights, right? Especially when Mars is transiting Gemini, or there's like a Saturn goes into Gemini. Ooh boy, that's going to be very interesting to see. Now this is really fascinating. Looking at her dashas, this is one of the awesome things about Vedic astrology. She's going into her Jupiter dasha, and I think that's roughly around let's see, 825 of 2017. That's probably around when they proposed. Now her Jupiter is located in the sign of Virgo. Um, not too good of a placement, but we have to look at the depositor. So her, which is Mercury, which is in the sign of Cancer. Let's see, we got the Sun. Where's so this is actually a Parvatan yoga when you have two lords in the opposite houses, and what that does is it actually lifts them up. And then in this case, we got the house of money and the house of home. So, and if you look at Jupiter being posited in this, what this is really doing is this is elevating her status. So, of course, through this marriage, she is going to be getting a lot of cash or royal money in a way. So that's one way to read the chart. Let's see. Venus is also too in the sign of Leo. Let's see. So now, interesting with her Mercury in the north node of the moon and the sun being in the sign of Cancer, she needs to be very careful about codependent relationships. I say this especially with people. If you have the moon in Cancer, you have to be very particular about why and whom you get into a relationship with, because there's a tendency to want to get, you have all these like emotions, and you send out the emotions, you want to get them back, right? So there is the expectation of reciprocation of emotions, and that can make Cancer fairly codependent. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Let's see, Saturn's in a decent position. Let's see, that's in the fourth house. So let's see, there's something too, I think, with the south node of her moon. No, actually, I think that's, oh yeah, the south node of the moon is conjunct Altair. Now, this is very interesting. Altair is basically about courage, generosity, as it says there. It's also another star of battle. It's more like a star. It's represented. It's the star of glory, actually, the star of honors. So, for her, I think there's a portion of her that also doesn't feel good enough, and this really plays into her Cancerian energy, where I think, and this is also to the eighth house. So there could also be like scandals coming out of nowhere. So I think in this marriage, we're going to have to keep an eye on Harry and see how he is with his fidelity, because Mars and Scorpio make somebody fairly randy. Now, luckily for him, that's not in the eighth house, but it can go one way or the other. So, all right, everybody, thank you once again for watching me on YouTube. And if there's any of my Periscope subscribers that are coming over, man, I am going to I'm moving in like a few days, so I'm going to trick out my internet so we get a good stream every time. Just like a nice prostate. You want to have a good stream when you're on YouTube. So, yeah, and that's an over the age of 40 joke. Oh, anyway, moving on. If you have any suggestions, hit me at the email address below. Otherwise, have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow.